Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining our overview of our Productivity Now solution. We're happy you took the time to join us this morning. My name is Greg Bow. I'm a sales manager for IMAGINiT Technologies out on the West Coast. And presenting today will be Kevin Keeker, the Vice President of our Technical Services Division, and he'll be giving you the little bit of background in some of the updates of our Productivity Now solution, as well as a demonstration of the platform. One of the things that Kevin will mention here and some of the facts and figures that substantiate why we're all very bullish about the Productivity Now platform is that about 20 years ago, only 4% of companies had any type of e-learning solution in their businesses, and we're now up to about 77% of U.S. businesses offer some type of e-learning platform for their employees. So there's clear, looking back 20 years, we were barely in the advent of the internet, but in this time, many businesses have adopted an e-learning platform to either train or augment the training of their staff. So if you have not yet, then you're in the right place, and we're happy that you're taking the time to look further. So with that, I will hand this over to Kevin, and he'll take it away.
Thank you, Greg. So just a quick house little order here. We're going to I'll introduce myself real quick, and then I've got a couple of items to cover about some industry trends and some feedback that I've been receiving in conversations with senior management at a lot of our clients and such. And then we'll go into a little bit of the Productivity Now overview and discussions on how Productivity Now can be a key piece of your employee retention, employee recruiting, and professional development plans within your organization. So, as Greg said, my name is Kevin Keeker. I am the Vice President of Training and Support Solutions here at IMAGINiT. Have been involved in the industry for a little over 25 years now, and the last 12 I've been directly involved with the learning and professional development aspects here at IMAGINiT Technologies, and helping to guide and work with our clients to build the training and support products and solutions for you guys. Over the past year, I've spent quite a bit of time working with and talking to different senior management level clients within our clients, and I'm hearing some very common reiterated issues and concerns, from the field. And things like, we've got great business opportunities to grow our business right now, but we're running into issues where I need more staff, and we can't recruit, interview, and get people up to speed fast enough. Or worse yet, I get people hired. When I'm doing the recruiting process, they're all telling me that, oh yeah, well, I've used Inventor or I've used Revit and whatever software tools in the past, but when we get them on board, yeah, it's a whole nother story. I spend a great deal of time trying to retrain on the existing staff. The other issue I hear frequently is, I've got adequate staff, but we continue to struggle to get production and efficiency out of our existing teams. We've done a great job of getting our staff, and we've given them the right tools, but we're having issues where we just don't know how to use the tools effectively in a lot of situations. And then with the tight labor market as it is today, the other thing I'm hearing a great deal about is, competitors keep trying to steal my good employees, and I just can't afford to lose them. So in having these discussions and hearing this continuous feedback, and when I say continuous, I hear one of these four things almost every time I talk to someone in your senior management positions. I started looking around the industry and trying to figure out, well, is this just in our market? Is it just in our market segment, or is it a more broad? And what I'm finding is that there are a lot of companies that are integrating in different professional development practices to help supplement their staff to help address several of these issues. Number one, they're finding that, employees like training. They like feeling valued. They like having the, the belief that the company is behind them and wanting them to get better, not just in a job, but as professionals and to grow their abilities. And as such, we start especially looking at, the newer generation that are coming out of the schools today. Nearly 87% of them, when they're interviewed, are stating that, professional development opportunities in a career is extremely important to them. And things like, 70% of the existing employees in these organizations also are stating, having opportunities to learn and further my development is directly influencing their decision as to whether they're going to stay with the company or they're going to move on. Additionally, as Greg mentioned, close to 77% of organizations in the U.S. today have some type of e-learning program, whether it's an online e-learning system like I'm going to be talking about today, or some type of video recorded training, whether internally developed or external. But it's definitely a growing market. And the tools continue to get better and better in this segment. When talking with clients that have already integrated not just our solution but other e-learning solutions as well, 72% of them believed that the e-learning that they've put in place has helped increase their competitive advantage. At the same time, over 42% said that they believe it's led to increased revenues in their organization. Happier employees, more informed, better trained employees are more effective. And as such, they stay on board and they lead to that. But at the same time, we look at all these different e-learning programs and different modes of professional development that's available today. And in talking with clients and looking at research survey, as little as 12% of the learners implement what they've been taught in a traditional training in the organization. That's scary. That means nearly 90% of the investment being made to train these individuals is not being put into practice. That's not efficient. It's not able to be continued on. It's just not a good use of it. And as such, we turn around and we look at e-learning tools like our ProductivityNOW system, and clients are stating that they're getting a 25 to 60% increase in retention of the material and the ability of those users to put that material into production. And that comes out of multiple reasons, multiple sides of it. The number one issue is with e-learning systems, which most of them are self-paced, self-guided. It allows the user to go back and re-review or touch up on a skill as they're needing to put it into practice, instead of that one-time event that is at the traditional training room, where if they don't remember it, they don't put it into practice immediately, a lot of it gets forgotten. So with that said, what if we could provide you a tool, a system that I'm not going to say it's the magic bullet. It's not going to solve that employee retention issue 100%. It's not going to 100% solve the employee recruiting process, the interviewing process, but it can be a very valuable piece of a very valuable tool in your tool belt when you come to addressing these issues. And I believe we've developed that with our ProductivityNOW system. Those of you that have been familiar with IMAGINiT, we've been offering a ProductivityNOW system for a number of years. About a year ago, well, about 2 years ago now, we stepped back and said, where's this program going? What do our clients need today, tomorrow, and down the road to be successful using these tools and to be able to grow their own employees to the betterment level that they need? And we decided at that point that our existing system just wasn't cutting it. It wasn't giving us the flexibility going forward to do what we want to do. So literally a year ago, we threw it away. And we went out and we've looked for better platforms, better content, and a much more manageable solution that we could provide to our clients to deliver a truly unifying knowledge capture, knowledge sharing, and productivity driving tool. And as such, we've created the new ProductivityNOW platform as it is today. As such, what we have done is we've taken industry-leading content from our Ascent team, who are Autodesk authorized publishers and write the training guides that the bulk of the Autodesk authorized training centers around North America utilize in training classes. And we've integrated that content with content that's developed by the IMAGINiT's consulting team and technical staff. And we're running it on a platform that we've licensed from Eagle Point called their Pinnacle Series. This platform gives us the ability to provide a truly global solution that addresses continuous learning. It's a platform that can be used for new employees, from everything from someone that's brand new to a tool coming in and wants to start learning how to use a software tool today, to existing users to provide them with update training, advanced topics training, material that maybe they don't only get to use that function once or twice a year, and as such, they're not in practice with it. As well as it gives us the ability to integrate in knowledge assessments where we can test either an interviewee, and we'll cover this in more detail here in a little bit, but we can test an interviewee to ensure that they truly know, a base level functionality of a software package before you bring them on board. Or you can use it to augment your existing staff to ensure that their knowledge level is adequate, but also create a learning path custom to them so you're not wasting their time on content they do know, and allows you to go forward. Again, targeting specific skills and skill gaps. It's a knowledge capture, knowledge sharing system. So in addition to have access to the content that we're making available, the system allows for companies like yourself to take your existing standards documents, your existing workflows and processes, integrate them into the system, either import them in or to manipulate our content that's in the system to make it match your workflows and the processes that you want your users using, and then publish it to those users. Again, knowledge capture, knowledge sharing, all the way down to specific workflows, videos, tech docs, the entire learning gamut of materials that you have available. Ultimately, and it's a productivity tool set, because in addition to the e-learning system that's available, there's also help built into the system where each user can have direct access to our dedicated team of experienced CAD users, Autodesk specialists in our organization. We've got a team of 12 individuals currently that are 100% dedicated to doing nothing but providing end user support and helping guide those users through using the tools correctly. In addition to, as I mentioned, when you document your custom workflows and you're publishing through, you can ensure consistency that all of your users that are integrating and using those systems are flowing through that same process, utilizing those tools in those same ways. So the primary components of the ProductivityNOW system are primarily, it is the e-learning. It is an LMS-backed system that allows your users to go through a structured learning path to complete and, I shouldn't say complete, but to fulfill or to supplement their knowledge and allow them to grow the skills that you need within your organization. Partnered with technical support, access to the experts who can help drive those solutions. And then ultimately, we're also bundling in access to, like I said, the KnowledgeSmart assessments so that you can test not only your existing staff, but interviewees and those others that you're considering bringing into your firm or your organization. Productivity utilities, as well as additional cheat sheets, videos, workflows, tech documents, knowledge-based items, and materials like that again, drive that productivity in ensuring that the users have access to the important information that's accurate information from experts when they need it. I'm not going to read this entire slide to you, but one of the key things that we looked at when we were developing our new ProductivityNOW system was knowing that the system had to provide user feedback, and it had to be flexible in that we know not every user learns in the same way. Our content is very unique, unlike some other systems that are just a compiled list of videos. Our content is a combination of written text with video supplementing it, with exercises and hands-on tools that they can put those skills into use, as well as quizzes and other material to support it, that allows us to truly address the multiple different ways people learn. We give you ability as a management team to be able to not only assign these learning paths to those users, but assign due dates and ensure that, with tracking capability and quizzes to ensure that they're actually making progress through it, and so you can see where there's struggles as well as to help supplement it. We allow you to customize the portal branding. This tool, it is your tool. You're allowed to put your content in it, but you're also allowed to allow you to put your branding and your wrapper around it, so clients get the gain that their employees know that this is our site. We get to put our content there and use it effectively. And then along those lines, like I said, we're giving you access to the content provided by 3 of the best known sources in the marketplace, from Ascent, Eagle Point, IMAGINiT, as well as other third-party content providers that have been vetted, and we're ensuring the quality and accuracy of that content. The ability of, and I'm going to talk a lot about the KnowledgeSmart integration, because as I'm talking to more and more organizations like yours, we're finding that everyone is looking for ways to drive efficiency in learning, as well as efficiency in hiring, and trying to ensure that, not necessarily trying to eliminate candidates from a position, but to at least have an upfront knowledge that if I'm hiring somebody, what is their skill level? What is their knowledge level of these software tools coming in? And then ultimately, like I mentioned a minute ago, the ability to add other third-party content, such as Microsoft content, Adobe content, McNeil, etc. So let's take a quick look, at some of the key functionality of the ProductivityNOW system. The new system is 100% web-driven, so everything's accessible from the office, from a remote location, from your tablet, your cell phone, and it allows has a very clean, simplified user interface that allows clients to be very productive right from the start. Everything is accessible through a single search. So if a user is working on a project and I need to know how to insert a specific type of a hole in a part or a door in a curtain wall, I can do a quick search, and every piece of content within the system is searched and brings back the relevant content for the product that I'm using, and allows me to drill in on that material. I touched on the content that's available a moment ago, as well as the knowledge capturing aspect of it. One of the other unique functions that a lot of our clients are starting to utilize are the work groups. Work groups allow a user to create basically a briefcase that they can drop video content. Maybe it's a workflow that they know they're going to need on a regular basis, and have it readily at their hands, at the touch of a button. Or we're seeing a lot of organizations use these because each one of these work groups, you can invite other members of your organization to that same work group. So we're seeing team managers sharing content to their team via these. So I've got a project team kicking off, and we've got to use a specific design standard or a set of rules around this. I can simply publish that design standard in the system and then release it to that work group and share it to all members of that team. In addition, we have very graphical, but also very detailed reports and dashboards available so that as a manager, you can track what users are taking advantage of, not only inside the e-learning, but I can also track just what questions people are asking. I can track the cases, the help desk cases that are being submitted to the IMAGINiT technical team. All of that content is tracked and retained so that we can look back on it and get a good picture of, you know what, we seem to be having a lot of issues with a specific function or a specific question. Maybe we need to look at, you know, adding a lunch and learn or some other means of addressing that particular issue within the organization. And then ultimately, from an IT standpoint, in addition to all of the the user advantages, we allow you to do your own user management. We have built-in integration with Active Directory and single sign-on. So again, it's incorporated into your network, it's incorporated into your environment, easy for users to utilize and such. I'm going to drill in here, just give you just a little bit more of a high-level overview. You know, like I said, it's a clean user interface. We keep the commonly used, most frequently used assets right at your fingertips, as well as the learning paths that you're signed up for as a user. They have very quick access to it by simply clicking on it. The system remembers I was on chapter 2 or, you know, this particular section of the course, and it drills me back into that exact point where I left it, as well as everything in the system, in addition to be accessed through the search function, can also be browsed to by simply browsing through the different pieces of content. So maybe I don't know exactly what I want to learn, but I know I need to learn some new functionality in sheet metal functions of an Inventor. Things like that. I can simply drill into it, drill into the Ascent course, go into Inventor, oh, sheet metal course. I talked a minute ago about the different ways that we address the learning modalities, the different ways people want to learn. So I've got a couple of samples here of the Ascent curriculum and how we've integrated it into the system. So as I mentioned, in addition to those, you know, some users just need to read content to interpret it. So we allow them to have, you know, the text document, the instructions and the theory behind it, as well as we have those that need to watch, need to see it done, need to see it demonstrated. So we've integrated short videos, most of them in the 2 to 3 minute range, that walk a user through the specific functions that we're covering in that topic of the learning. And then we believe it's critical that a user put that learning, that new education to use immediately so that they can start ingraining it and putting it into practice. To do that, we know it's not feasible or not a good idea for a user to be practicing or experimenting on your production drawing. As such, we provide data sets that they can download right from within the system and step-by-step instructions so that they can, you know, take what they just read about, what they've just watched, and now put that into production. And then we follow it up with practice, with quizzes and such to ensure that they have integrated that into their, you know, they've actually understood the content from that standpoint. If not, they can go back, retake that content, re-watch the video, and repeat through the cycle as needed. Again, self-paced system allows the user to control how they interpret it and how quickly they can move through that content. One of the items I wanted to talk about here, because it's an extremely valuable tool for most organizations, and the area that we're seeing companies do a great deal of internal documentation, is the capability of documenting a workflow. And a workflow can be anything from as simple as how to start a new a model with using the right standards, to this particular one I've got here is a project workflow, from setting up a project, integrating the correct content into the standard model, and, you know, all the way through setting up the required views and stuff like that. And so you can see every one of these can be broken out into additional detail and then there's the step-by-step, the actual full detail within each one of those steps. And again, this content can be based on the content we have already in the system available, and you can manipulate it, make a copy of it, and modify it to fit your needs, or you can start from scratch and bring in your existing workflows or your existing documentation as needed. I talked a bit about KnowledgeSmart, and we're going to drill in a little more detail on this because I think it's a really underutilized thing in our space. KnowledgeSmart is an assessment engine. It's an online hosted environment that has standard assessment quizzes pre-built for most Autodesk products. Within this system, and within the ProductivityNOW system, we integrate the two together. So within ProductivityNOW, I can very simply, just like I'm going in and assigning a learning path to a user, instead I can go and say, I'm going to assign a knowledge assessment to a user, pick the assessment, and I can tell the system whether I want it to automatically create a learning path based on the results of that assessment, or I can come back and say I want to reevaluate it once they've completed it, and I will manually create that learning path and assign it to them. That functionality, though, that automation process, again, it goes to that whole productivity. The last thing we want an experienced user doing is wasting time going through content that they already know. This allows them to create automatically on the fly, create the assessment, or complete the assessment, and come back into ProductivityNOW and have a custom learning path presented to them that's just addressing those knowledge gaps. The other aspect of it is I can, from within the system, I can assign an assessment to an interviewee. And the system will automatically send an email out to that user and have them complete an assessment so that when they come on board, I can then convert that assessment into a learning path. But before that, I have a knowledge, as I'm going through the review process, the interview process, of where they're at from a skill level, and I can address or know going in at least that I'm going to have to spend some time training this person on these different functions to be able to be productive in our environment. For those of you that are not familiar with KnowledgeSmart, you know, I've got a couple of sample screens here, a couple of sample questions. I just wanted you to see it's a very user-friendly, clean system that allows the user to very quickly go through it. It contains a number of different types of questions, everything from true, false, multiple choice, to items where they have to download a model and complete some activity inside the software you're assessing to be able to answer the question. For instance, like the question number 2 I've got up right now. So the system's very flexible from that standpoint. The other thing I'm going to throw out there is, as an organization that licensed the KnowledgeSmart with the ProductivityNOW, you get access to the backside engine as well. So you can come in and create custom questions if there's a particular area that maybe, you know what, we do a lot of sheet metal. I want to expand the questions in that area. Or we're starting to utilize some other tool in-house, but we're only using certain aspects of it. So you can create those custom assessments from that standpoint. Also, because you are getting the full license, you have access to the entire back end from a reporting standpoint. And I've just got 3 sample reports here on the screen, but the key ones I'm going to point out right now is, you know, the detailed report. And behind every one of these, you know, assessments, and this is a sample assessment that one of my demo users took, and you can drill in and I can get the full question behind it. I can see how they answered it, what was the correct answer, but I can also see how much time they spent on it. So just because I've got a user that maybe got 90% of the questions correct, and I've got another user that only got a 60%, but that 90% user maybe took twice as long or 3 times as long, is a trade-off. Again, all that data is available, and you can put that into your decision-making process, both from an ongoing training standpoint, but also from that recruitment standpoint and that interview process. I touched on the base reports, and we're jumping back into the ProductivityNOW system. I touched on some of the base reports. The system has two graphical dashboards, one around e-learning, so I can see who the top learners are. I can see what learning paths are getting utilized. I can see how much time is being spent towards those learning goals. But there's also a similar dashboard for the overall use of the system, so I can see maybe outside of a learning path what type of questions are being asked, who's logging into the system and viewing content as more of a productivity or a support tool as well. And then behind each one of these reports, we give you access to the full data. So as such, I have several clients that are taking this data and either exporting it out as a form of a report or using the integrated API that's available within ProductivityNOW to link up to other in-house HR systems for long-term tracking and to continue that recording of the education and professional development of our employees. So you can see the system is very large scale. We have tried to address multiple different ways people learn and the activities that they put into it, but also giving you as a manager access to the tools, the data that you need to be able to make smart decisions going forward. Hopefully all of this ties into, as we talked about, how can we help you with the recruitment process? Well, I can help you figure out what do your interviewees and the candidates you're looking to hire know. What do they need help with? What type of education are you going to have to provide them once they come on board? I hope you can also see that how this would affect your existing employees, your existing staff, giving them the opportunities to have that professional development, to feel like they're valued, you're contributing to their long-term success, whether it's within the confines of their current role or maybe giving them opportunities to move on to the next role within your organization. That having that pipeline fulfilled and having as an employee, having that investment in them is a key value. And I hope you can also see how the KnowledgeSmart allows us to automate that process, again, drive efficiency, and reduce the amount of time where someone is being redundant, spending time learning about tasks that they already know. As we said, currently the system has content in it that covers the full range of the Autodesk products. We have the Autodesk official training guides from Ascent for about 50 different titles within the system, and we're continually adding to that. In fact, just this week we're launching 6 new titles within the system from Ascent. And then in addition to that, we have Eagle Point provided content as well as IMAGINiT provided content coming from our consulting and implementation teams to help provide that technical knowledge and that other content that is extremely valuable to driving that productivity. We talked a lot about the KnowledgeSmart integration. It is an optional add-on. We've had several clients that have asked us, what if I already have a KnowledgeSmart integration or a KnowledgeSmart subscription? Can we integrate that in? Yes, absolutely. But we also have some extremely valuable content as well for the Microsoft products, for Adobe, health and safety. And just this week, we released the McNeil content for Grasshopper and Rhino. And there's some other content that we're currently working on that should be coming out soon as well. Ultimately, like I said, is this the silver bullet? No. I don't know that there is a silver bullet trying to address employee retention, employee recruitment, and things like that. But ProductivityNOW can be an extremely valuable piece of, tool in your tool belt to addressing that and driving that in the direction you want to go. We have clients, and these numbers that I'm going to throw out here are based on feedback that we've received from existing clients of the ProductivityNOW system, who are stating that, they're seeing a positive ROI on their investment in the system, with as little as 16% of their users gaining as little as a half hour of productivity a week. we know that a half hour a week seems like a lot of time. But think about the amount of time that your organization, that a user runs into an issue and they walk over to or yell over to the cubicle next to them, hey Johnny, how do I solve this? And maybe Johnny can help them, maybe not, but now I got 2 people working on it. And, you know, maybe Johnny doesn't know. So now we got a whole group of people, 4 or 5 people standing around for 10, 15 minutes trying to figure out how to address this issue. That right there turns a positive ROI because I'm, you know, allowing you to have direct access to technical experts who can truly be supplemental to your internal staff for driving that knowledge and helping solve these types of problems. In addition to, and that's not even addressing those who are trying to learn a new skill or utilize a new tool to complete the job that they currently have. All of that can drive to an extremely powerful and extremely fast return on investment. At this time, Cassie, that finished the main presentation. I thank everybody for their time and would love to open it up to any questions that anyone might have.